and I'll make sure that you are a co-host so that you can share.
Yeah, I have a quick slide on myself, so we'll get to it. So let me just see if I can't work this. We're a Teams organization here, so just looking to how I would go about sharing this. Bear with me here.
Should be down at the bottom.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, share screen, and then I can pick the deck. Perfect.
There you go.
Can you all see that?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you all, first and foremost for your service, and then also to let me kind of present Ameresco here for you all. Any of you familiar with us before you kind of saw this from Andy, or is this kind of going to be all new to you guys?
Definitely familiar with the name. Thought a little bit on LinkedIn, so I've seen some stories here and there.
It's all new to me, and I was able to do a little bit of research, but I didn't know about it until I saw this.
Awesome. Well, I'm super passionate about the company, and so hopefully I can give you a real good foundation of what we do. Definitely some of the opportunities that we have now. We're lucky enough to be a company that's kind of continuing, the growth trajectory that we have. And also, Andy, and I think we've talked about this a little bit more too, is, hopefully after this presentation, I'd love to be a resource to anybody just with questions, or, if they want some help with anything on a resume or LinkedIn or anything like that. I'd love to be kind of a resource. Hopefully not to be just a one presentation and done type thing. But just quickly about me, I am the director of HR here. So I do kind of manage the day-to-day HR function for all of our global locations, right? So we have about 70 offices here in the US, with our corporate headquarters being right down the street in Framingham, Mass. We do have an office in each of the provinces in Canada, and also a couple offices out in London. I've been here 9 years, kind of different progressive roles. So way back kind of when I started off in recruiting. So I have a passion for just talent acquisition. And I have seen, a lot of the folks that we've brought on with your all types of backgrounds, have done phenomenal things here. So I'm very familiar kind of with what folks with, a service background can bring to the organization. I did my undergraduate at UMass, and actually did my master's at Northeastern. So I wrapped up my MBA there right before the pandemic started in December of 19. So I was able to go through that program. And like I said, I don't just want to be, a voice behind this. I do have, I'll send this to Andy and he can forward it out to you all, but I do have my email and my office number that goes directly to my phone here, just to be a resource, kind of moving forward as well. So that's enough about me, but let's talk a little bit about what we do. So we're definitely in a pretty, awesome industry, where we're, kind of being positioned as an energy services company, clean tech, where we're really focusing on energy efficiency and renewable energy. And I think, we do a lot more than that, and I'll kind of dive in a little bit more into that. But we've done probably close to $7 billion worth of energy projects all across the US. We've done, I'm sure if you guys ever flown out of Logan Airport in Boston, we did all those panels up there, or on the Mass Pike. That was another one of our projects. If you kind of come out west this way, you'll see kind of the solar panels that we have there powering, providing power to the DOT. We've got close to, I think it's almost 1,100 employees now. So we were founded in April of 2000, and seen some pretty quick growth, both organically and through acquisition. When I started, we had probably close to 700. So we've gone up over 1,000 in the last 9 or so years. So definitely, some quick growth. And we did go public in 2010. So we're, for those of you who are, in business school, you can kind of take a look at our financials and everything else, and see how we're doing. We have close to 8,000 customers, and those customers are typically what we look at as large municipalities, hospitals, school districts, colleges, universities. We do a ton of work with the federal government. So we'll do work on all sorts of military bases. We just did a huge project down at Paris Island, which I believe is in North Carolina, where we did a large battery storage project there. We're up in Elmendorf Air Force Base out in Alaska, Hill Air Force Base out in Utah, Baltimore Coast Guard Yard, on and on and on of just, the projects that we've done for, the federal government. And really a lot of what we do is focusing on the reduction of energy usage in these facilities. So we'll do comprehensive, energy audits where we'll have an engineering team that will go in, that will look at the specific facility, see how they're using their energy, and then offer a new, more comprehensive solution to reduce that. So in a lot of these situations, they're kind of retrofitting the entire building, lighting systems, heating systems, cooling systems, you name it, and put new, more state-of-the-art, equipment in there. They'll also look at, any sort of renewable stuff we can put on there, whether it's solar, battery storage. So definitely, we're always keeping up with the most efficient, newest technologies out there. And we reduced in 19 about, it looks like 11 million metric tons of CO2. And to put that probably in terms that I can understand, it's equal to about 27.7 billion miles of gas emissions that were reduced by passenger vehicles. So I tend to look at it like that. I think it's a little bit easier to kind of comprehend, which is just an absolutely phenomenal number. So, what we end up doing is has almost like a double, a double positive in this, where we're looking at the, we're reducing energy consumption, right? And we're really helping the environment, but also with the energy reduction also saves our customers money as well. So there's definitely a double bottom line to that, which is very attractive to everybody. So just looking a little bit at us as a company too, we've won all sorts of industry awards. We've won, and actually now 2020 Best of Brightest in Boston. And, we were actually just received this, and I was just out of this before we hopped on. We were ranked number 6 on Forbes 21 Best Mid-sized Companies. So definitely something that was just put out, and we are more than humbled to have that award. And a lot of that, is driven by the company and the culture and kind of, where we kind of position ourselves, and we are more than humbled to kind of receive that award. And then on the left is just a publication here of kind of where we stand within the industry with regards to execution, and strategy. So we are considered, a market leader in what we do with some pretty large size companies, right? So you've got Schneider Electric, Siemens, Johnson Controls, Honeywell, Trane. For those who know those types of companies, they're large, multi-billion-dollar, conglomerates. And here we are, a smaller kind of, we probably have, $1 billion worth of revenue, where these, other companies are hundreds of, if not billions of dollars worth of work. So we've really, been able to, compete with a lot of these large customers. And a lot of it has to do with, our vision, our passion as a company, and just the folks that we hire, right? So we don't necessarily sell a specific widget or panel or, anything like that, right? So where our expertise comes in is through the folks that we hire from, our engineering, our construction, kind of our O&M, and I'll get into that, a little bit as we move forward. So I talked a little bit about this, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, but just looking at some of the industries that we serve, like I said, we're working in, a lot of, institutions that are typically strapped for cash, and, that don't necessarily have the means to make all sorts of, different improvements. And we're able to help support them through kind of unique financing, which we'll walk through quickly in a little bit. But you can see, a lot of those large standing, institutions out there. So if you just took a quick snapshot on a couple pictures, and I do like this slide a lot, and I think our marketing team did a great job of putting something like this together. You can just see kind of, just a pinpoint a couple of our projects, and you can see we're basically just about in every state. I think we're not in 3, and we've got projects just about everywhere. And you can see we've got, you know, a couple of different types of projects here that are located. So we've got, looks like a project down at Texas A&M. We talked a little bit about Parris Island in South Carolina. You know, we did the U.S. Army, a large project in Fort Detrick solar. And then again, kind of some housing authority projects there. So definitely expertise in every single sector across the company, across the country. So kind of diving in a little bit without putting you guys in the weeds too much. If you're looking at, you know, what we actually offer, if you say, you know, energy efficiency and renewable energy, that I think is very broad. But if you were to look at it a little bit, you know, we talked a little bit about efficiency, where we're looking, you know, at making buildings more efficient. We do have a distributed energy group, which really takes, you know, this group has, you know, about 43 or so kind of small scale power plants that are in some situations taking, you know, some sort of gas, whether it's methane gas, and creating, you know, electricity. So the closest one to us here in Massachusetts, or at least those folks who are, is out in Chicopee, where we're taking methane from a landfill, turning it into electricity, and actually selling it back to the grid as, you know, obviously clean energy. So we do have a large distributed energy generation team, and they also handle, you know, storage and microgrids, right? So in a lot of our federal projects, you know, they need the capability to be able to power, you know, a military base, you know, not be attached directly to the grid. So they'll have their own separate grid, right? In case, you know, it's a defense issue, if the grid goes down and they don't have any way to get power. So we've actually, and that was one of the things that we did down in Parris Island, was be able to put them directly onto their own separate grid and power them as well. And then of course, storage is huge with us too, because, you know, while we have, you know, solar is great and everything, when the sun goes down, you know, how do we power these facilities and these buildings and our customers? And obviously, you know, the main source is to power it from the energy that we have, you know, stored in our batteries. And then I think another piece that gets overlooked in what we do is, you know, we're putting in all this new equipment into these buildings. We also have a team that actually takes care of all the equipment on the back end, right? So, you know, as we're putting in all the new equipment, you know, we have, you know, licensed mechanics and licensed electricians, and some people more kind of in that trade aspect that are going to be in there, you know, really handling, you know, the maintenance and the operations of these power plants or of these equipment. So, you know, we really do spread widely when it comes to the folks that we hire here, all the way from, you know, high level engineers through construction. So construction managers, project managers, quality control managers. We have folks on the environmental side of things. Obviously with these power plants, there's all sorts of permitting and environmental issues that we have. And then even to kind of more of a trade type environment as well, where we hire, you know, electricians, maintenance people, you know, plumbers in some situations, et cetera. So we do kind of span the whole gamut, but every single one of these folks are important because they're all touching our customers. So, you know, from the beginning in the design stage through the build stage, and then even the maintenance stage, which can last, you know, 20 plus years, you know, they're all touching our customers. Not to go into this too much because I touched on it a little bit before, but you can kind of see what we talk about a little bit when you're hearing me talk about, you know, efficiency, which is a lot more of, you know, smart control systems. Obviously with COVID, we've seen a lot more on the filtration side of things, right? Where a lot of companies are looking to us to help clean the air, et cetera. We're doing a lot with smart LED streetlights. We had a massive project out in Chicago where we're replacing all of their old streetlights with new state-of-the-art LEDs. Again, we talked a little bit more about our distributed generation, and you can see we definitely do some stuff with energy analytics and supply management and infrastructure, et cetera. So a big portfolio, and a good thing about it is a lot of these, you know, definitely tie together, you know, with our end goal of, you know, energy reduction, carbon footprint reduction, and then of course, you know, the added extra benefit of saving money for our customers. I talked a little bit about this, and I think this should be, you know, noticed, is that we, you know, a lot of the institutions that we help don't have the financial capital to do a lot of these capital improvement projects, right? So, you know, schools, you know, a lot of them are looking at, you know, how do we pay for, you know, a gym class, or, you know, specific related arts classes, and they don't have, you know, $100-200 million to pour into, you know, capital improvements on their existing facilities. So what we're able to do is really finance these projects, you know, using the savings that they're receiving, right? So for example, if we save them, you know, $100,000 a year, they'd be able to take that money and pay off the project. So it's really kind of a net neutral, a budget neutral piece here, and we're able to finance any project. So through, you know, performance contracting or design build or power purchase agreements, you name it, we've been able to really utilize the savings that they're seeing on these projects to be able to pay for them. And the biggest part is, especially on the performance contracting side, is, you know, the biggest thing is what happens if you don't meet the savings. In those situations, we actually guarantee the savings. So it's really nice because there's no risk to the customer. It's almost like it's too true to believe, but you know, that we're able to do that, and that's how we've been, you know, so successful, and that's how a lot of these institutions are actually able to get these improvements. So as you can see, you know, we've saved close to 50 million metric tons of, you know, CO2. And you can just kind of see it year over year, you know, how we've been able to grow and, you know, continue to grow rapidly, just the amount of CO2 we're able to avoid per year. And I think a lot of that has to do with not only the size of the company, right? So we're growing, we're getting more projects, you know, but I also think that a lot of it comes from the complexity of our projects too. So, you know, while we're getting more projects, our projects are adding more advanced technology. They're becoming more complex. And we're seeing, I think, even the aggregate of the savings per project increase as well. The CO2 avoided per project increase as well. And that's a testament to our employees, right? They're the ones who go in there and really, from like a consulting perspective, look at the project and decide, you know, hey, I think we need to do, you know, X, Y, and Z, and I think we can save, you know, A, B, and C. So, you know, I think it is a testament to the company, and of course, you know, what we are is the folks that work here for us. On the right hand side, like I said, a little bit more for me, you know, layman's terms of how to break down that, you know, metric ton, right? So you can see with regards to, they're comparing it to passenger miles, as I said earlier, and even, you know, sequestered forests, et cetera, et cetera. So I think this is a little bit more easy for me to digest, or, you know, kind of layman's terms for you and I, but I think it's fantastic. So, you know, I do like to talk a little bit, you know, here about, you know, why Ameresco and why, you know, folks come, you know, to us and not, you know, a competitor or somebody else. You know, the big piece with us, you know, is our innovation, right? And I think we all can agree kind of where that starts is, you know, with the employees, right? And with the environment that they're able to come in and be innovative and thrive and be okay with, you know, think outside the box and get outside of their comfort zone, and be okay with making a mistake, because, you know, that's the only way, you know, really to foster innovation is through an environment that allows those types of things. And I think we've been excellent at being able to provide that. And I think our true differentiating factor from folks in our industry is the folks that work here. You know, we do have a passion for you know, reducing, you know, the carbon footprint and really, you know, creating a sustainable world. And I think it comes from every single person that we hire, whether you're kind of, you know, from the engineering side, or, you know, me from the HR side, or anywhere in between. Everybody kind of shares that same passion and is moving that, you know, moving our values and our mission and everything forward with everything they do, whether they're touching the project directly or indirectly. And another piece too is that we are, you know, one of the few product agnostic companies, right? So some of the larger players will use some of their equipment that they put back in. We really can use whatever we want. We don't have, whether it's a new chiller system or building control system, we don't have to use, ours. We don't have any. So we really can offer a product that I think that is truly agnostic to our customer. Again, we talked a little bit here about, kind of some of the expert stuff, and again, kind of independent piece as well, is that we have that objective approach to meet the needs of our customer, and every customer has different needs, right? Some's money, some is, some have specific targets that they need to hit with regards to sustainability, and reducing the carbon footprint. So everybody's a little bit different, and we are able to, really meet kind of any need that comes our way. And then quickly talking, about us, and I think this is, an equally as important piece to anybody who would consider coming to work here. And I think, really looking at our mission, vision, and values, our vision, I think is pretty, straightforward, energizing a sustainable world. I think this vision is infinite, right? The world is always going to need to be more sustainable, probably long after we're all here. This vision is still going to be out there, and people are still going to be here in Ameresco trying to make, the world that we live in more sustainable for whatever reason. So I think, from a vision perspective, that's, what I look for is, a passion and something that, is just that far out of your reach, that keeps everybody going and going and going. So this vision is going to outlast probably everybody here, on this call. And obviously our mission, is really to, become a trusted partner to our customers. And it's not only our customers, right? It's the environment, it's the Ameresco team. And then, we do want to make sure that the folks that we're working with in the projects that we're working on, that they're satisfied with what they have. Our CEO will talk, George, about this nonstop, that, customer satisfaction, is of utmost important, because without them, we aren't doing all the other things with regards to, sustainable projects, et cetera. So, making sure that piece is tied up is important. And then I think kind of the last piece here that I do want to touch on is our values, right? So, we did create what we call our caring acronym. And so we think most importantly, that we want our, folks here to be committed. So, definitely, loyal, accountable, and, for all of our stakeholders. And when we say stakeholders, we don't just mean customers, we're talking employees, we're talking, the environment, cities, states, municipalities, you name it, the world, are all kind of lumped into that. A can-do attitude. Like I said, we are, definitely kind of with regard to size, one of the smaller kind of players in the industry. So we do have to have, that can-do attitude, resourceful. Again, we might not have the multi-billion-dollar backing of other organizations. So sometimes we have to do, a little bit, more with less. But I think, we are able to do that because the folks that we hire kind of all share that same vision, and we'll continue to keep taking, steps forward to really, get these projects that can change the world and change it, for better. Integrity, I think that goes without saying, right? That's something that I think people is important in everyday life, but also definitely important here. It would be questionable if we didn't have that. Nimble, I thought this was definitely an interesting choice, but I think a lot of it has to do with, remaining flexible. Things are going to change for better, for worse. And we need to remain entrepreneurial, passionate, innovative with these changes. I mean, we'll see at the minimum changes every 4 or 8 or so years from an administrative perspective, right? That has huge impacts on, green initiatives. But also, there's trends and technologies and everything else that's changing that we need to, stay at the forefront of. And then I think kind of the last one is greatness. I mean, I think we want to be, great at everything we do. And again, that's not just number one. I mean, I think that's great, but I also think, we want to make sure that we have a great experience, for our customers. We want to have, and whether, you're a, engineer or construction person on the front line, or a support person on the back line where we're supporting, our other employees, we want to be great, kind of at everything we do, and definitely take, that mindset, moving forward. So I know that was long-winded about the company. I do want to chat a little bit, more about some of the things that we have open here. And then I would love to hear kind of any questions that folks have. I do want to leave some time here at the end for questions and everything else. And so just looking quickly at, our opportunities, I looked this morning and updated this number. So we do have, 99 openings across 35 locations. So that's US, Canada, UK. I'd say about at least 90 of those are probably US specific, locations. We have positions open here, in our headquarters and in the state of Massachusetts. And where those positions range, I think, is definitely from, the engineering side. So we would be looking for folks with, mechanical, electrical design background, some sort of, energy type background, and then of course we are always looking at, kind of different, avenues for folks as well. From a construction side, I kind of put this really, it's pretty vague, but we basically, we do build all of our projects. So we typically have, folks from a higher level kind of oversee local subcontractors on the work, right? So we don't necessarily hire, people who install lights or drywall or roofs or windows or anything like that. We would hire basically a project manager to kind of oversee, all the subs. So almost at like a GC type level. But, we hire folks kind of at all levels from the construction side, from, senior program managers where they're looking, overseeing, multiple, $100 million projects with a team underneath them, to folks who are working on a specific project, and, kind of anywhere in between to interns and associate level and assistant level type positions. Also, we do have a strong administrative side from the construction. So we do have folks who work more on the administrative side, scheduling side, like I said, quality control, health and safety, et cetera, et cetera. Folks from the O&M side. So, we have actually had a ton of success with people joining this particular team, especially from those in the Navy. So a lot of the, maybe plants that we're running and power plants that we're running are running off of, what would be large diesel reciprocating engines. So similar to what you might find on a, Navy ship, or even turbines. We have turbine plants as well. So we do have, a lot of success of people moving from, if they might have been some sort of mechanic, in the military, and seamless transition into what we do here, and, have started off kind of, or even been hired into even more management type level roles. So we have folks who, are kind of operators. We have people kind of who oversee and manage multiple plants. And so we've definitely had a lot of success there. And then, like I said, I lumped everything into administrative. So that would be, I heard somebody on here had like, looking to do an environmental compliance background. So we do have a compliance team, HR, finance, accounting, marketing, you name it. It is something, a function that we have here, and always something, that we're looking for. And where to apply, it's pretty simple. If you just go to ameresco.com, there's a little tab there for careers that I think, it's pretty easy to find. And like I said at the beginning, I have my email, my phone number. I'd love to be able to help you in any way possible, even if Ameresco is not your, maybe it's not your cup of tea and you have a couple questions on on something from just a kind of a strict HR side, right? If maybe you don't have somebody to go to, I think I mentioned this and wanted someone to, review your resume and help you write something or update your LinkedIn. I do want to be a resource, and hopefully, Andy and I can build that relationship where I'm here being a resource for, any piece, not just like, hey, I want to work at Ameresco. So I do think, like I said, we have so many opportunities. And like I said, we are from what our hiring plan looks like for 2021. We're really excited about the continued growth that we're going to have next year. And like I said, would love the opportunity to chat with folks on what they're interested in and see if I can help hopefully facilitate a career here, if not help somewhere else. Because I do as a company we have volunteerism and we like to give back, and it doesn't necessarily have to be for us as a company. Like I said, I'd love to be able to work with all of you on something if possible. So hopefully I know that was kind of a long-winded discussion on what we do and some of the roles that we have, but would love to see if there's any kind of additional questions. I did want to make sure I left plenty of time for folks to ask some questions, but hopefully gave you a good, understanding of what we do and exciting, kind of opportunity that we have here and in such an exciting industry that I'm sure is just in the infancy stage of it, because I think now, even with that, an administrative change, focus on kind of, green energy and whatnot. I think we're just in such a great position. And like I said, from my side of things, I've hired hundreds and hundreds of people probably here throughout my career. And I think folks, with a service background offer such a unique skill set that kind of most of everybody else doesn't have. And I think sometimes where it's hard, at least in my opinion, and is being able to kind of describe how that skill set transfers into kind of civilian life. But wanted to really keep it open for some questions here, and I'd be happy to answer literally anything you guys have.
Thanks, Steve.
Hopefully I'm on time still.
Yeah, no, you're doing
okay. I'm a fast talker as well, so that helps.
Yeah. Questions for Steve?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. It's really two questions, but I kind of start with either one of them. You're probably familiar with Northeastern's co-op program. Sort of wondering if Ameresco has anything sort of related to that, but also how I know a lot of companies are having difficulty hiring people during COVID. So I kind of just wanted to get that perspective as well.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we do, actually, we've hired a lot of co-ops from Northeastern. Our CEO went to Northeastern. A lot of our executives actually went there too. So, it's one of our favorite schools to go to. We try to go to kind of all the career fairs. We do probably a lot of mechanical, electrical type people, but we brought folks over from all sides. So we do have some strong relationships with them, and we'll look to continue that for sure, moving forward as well. And then with regard to your question, which I thought was a great one, with regards to kind of hiring people, through the pandemic. So I actually ran numbers, kind of end of the year numbers to see what we did last year. We brought on, I think, close to 200 people. It was one of those things where it was just like, we came into work one day and they said, hey, we're all going to be working from home for the foreseeable future. And it was funny because I had someone from my team start that day, and it was, hey, nice to meet you, and we'll connect via Teams. So we've been, obviously, I think in March it was a little bit more difficult than it is. Now we've been able to, luckily for us, our industry wasn't that impacted, right? So if like schools and whatever are shut down, they're like, hey, why don't you come in and do your work that you had planned, at some point in time. And then again, COVID brought a lot of different challenges to buildings that need different technologies in them. Like I said, we're seeing a lot on like automated doors and automated lights and, HEPA filter systems to make sure the air is clean. So it opened up a lot. While it was definitely challenging to start, it's opened up a lot of opportunities for us. And then furthermore, we've been able to really we've been able to fine tune our processes to make sure that it's kind of smooth onboarding. Very rarely, have I seen somebody start in the office? Almost everybody's remote. So we've been really good at getting that going. If you looked at us, pre-COVID, it was just like, everybody was in the office, they started, here's this and this, and we've been able to do like a 180 on that. But also we are a pretty remote company, like I said, so we had offices in almost every state. So not everyone's going to start here in Massachusetts. So we were already doing virtual orientations and virtual, trainings and whatnot. So that made it a little easier to transfer and kind of adapt to some of the COVID stuff. But we've been, knock on wood, very lucky and have really kind of just kept moving forward. And that's what our 2021 looks like as well. We don't, knock on wood, see any challenges with hiring or anything like that moving forward. And from the co-op side too, just to add some more color on that, we've not only had co-ops, but we've had co-ops come back, and we've had co-ops come back and then become hired. So we really use that as kind of a program to bring folks in as well. We do a lot with Northeastern, and there's a couple of other universities across the country that we do a lot with, like Arizona State. We have a big office down there that we do a lot with. A lot of our employees come from there. Believe it or not, we do a lot with Union up in New York as well. They have a great program too. So, but Northeastern's probably, I would say, at the top of the list, just due to the folks that work here and kind of their passion, and it's their alma mater too. So.
No, it's great. Thank you. And it definitely seems like a very flexible company in sort of all those realms. So thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, Steve, have you worked with any of the career centers, like any of the business service reps there?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, Mark.
Have you worked with any of the career centers, business service representatives?
At Northeastern or just in general?
No, because I'm work for Mass Hire, Boston Mass Hire, and they have business service reps, and they actually hold like events to employment events. And I don't know if you ever worked with any of them before.
So I personally have not, but again, it's kind of, would love to chat with you more about that for sure. I think that would be something that's kind of right up our alley as well.
Yeah, because I work with them, hand in hand, and we have actually done ones where we hold like a hiring event where like maybe the first hour is for veterans and like the next hour is for general public. So we do that. We've done that a few times also. Just make sure that everyone, we try to get veterans employed, but also make sure everyone else has opportunity to get employment also. Yeah,
no, I think that is great. And I'd love to take some of this offline and chat with you a little bit more too, if that's all right. Okay. What was your email, Mark?
I left it on the chat.
Okay.
It's mark.bryson@detma.org.
Okay, I'll take a look at the chat here before I leave. But yeah, I think that's we do a lot of work with we do different organizations. We do we work a lot with folks with disabilities as well. And I know that one of the folks on my team has a pretty strong relationship with Hire Our Heroes too. So they do a lot of work with them. We have mentors. We mentor some veterans and everything else too. So from like vets are something that we're passionate about too, but we definitely have our arms in a lot of different outreach as well, but always trying to help. And like I said, it might not even be an Ameresco, always trying to help folks gain employment, no matter kind of where it is, especially from my side and my volunteer time and whatnot. So I will definitely shoot you an email after this and connect and see how I can help, or somebody from my team can help.
All right, thank you. Sure, thanks.
For Ameresco, how far out from my expected availability date should I be looking at jobs and applying?
That's a great question. I think it's really going to be kind of job specific, right? We might have some that we're like, we're going to wait for the right person. We have, 5, 6, 7 months to fill it. Others are, we need somebody 30 days ago and we don't have that, don't have that time. I would say definitely, probably a couple months out for sure, I think is to start. But if you find something that you like, if you see something, you have my email. I'd be more than happy to get you in contact with whoever you need to chat a little bit about your background. And like I said, if it's not, if you're still a little ways out, there's always flexibility where they might be able to, for the right person, they would absolutely kind of, put something in place to be a nice transition for somebody to come in. Because like I think I've said a few times, is like, we really look for the right people, right? We want to make sure we get the right people in the right places. And it's not always like, hey, it happens in 10 days or it happens in 20. Sometimes it takes 6, 7, 8 months to get the right person in the right spot. And while it's frustrating a little bit to, maybe some people, but at the end of the day, it's, helps everybody to make sure. So the cost and time it takes with the wrong person outweighs kind of the little bit of struggle there. But I know that's not exactly a good answer for you. I would probably be looking, a few months out just to be sure. And I said, if that's the case and you're the right person, they would be more than happy to kind of, wait it through, if that makes sense. But like a year or two out might be a little tough.
I understand. Thank you.
Can we actually get your email again? Because there is one position that I was really interested in.
Sure. Let me get up to I think it was the first page. Those who are, oh, here we go. Right there. So that's my personal email, my office number. And like I said, Andy, I'll share this with you too if you want to send it out. I don't know if you probably have the email for all the folks here if you want to shoot this out to them. More than happy.
Thank you. Nicole, did you have another question?
Oh, sorry, no.
Nope. Is a lot of the work project-based, where you bring, you kind of hire up to support a certain project, and then when that's over, people move on, or do they get rolled into another project? How does that work?
Yeah, and that's actually a really good question. And I think the only time where it's really considered, shorter term project work is probably more on the construction side, right? Where we might have, a project that's going to take 3 years to build in the middle of North Carolina somewhere. And we let people know up front, like, hey, if there's we don't know what's going to happen in 3 years, we could have a project right next door. But usually, if that's the case, we'd let them know. Or if they want to like travel to another site, we might say, hey, we have X, Y, and Z opportunities. Do you want to relocate? Do you want to temporarily move? So for the most part, we usually don't staff up for a particular project unless it's kind of the construction side, if that makes sense. So we don't do a lot of like up and down headcount. We try to stay pretty. We try not to hire too many people, so we don't have to. If things get a little bit slower, we don't have to let a bunch of people go. So we really try to lean on our executives to make sure that the headcount looks good. But from any of the other sides, from the engineering and administrative, typically we're not going to hire unless we know it's for the long term. So construction is really the only thing that I see. A lot of our other contracts are usually 15, 20 years. So that's a pretty long time for somebody being in a job for 15, 20 years. But there's usually no issue there.
Great. And another question, what's it like to work there? What's the environment like? What's the culture like? Is it happy-go-lucky, relaxed? Is it, nose to the grindstone?
Yeah, no, I think that's another good question. If you, I guess, polled people here and had to just like summarize it in one word, they would definitely say it's probably, more kind of like an entrepreneurial environment where, we hire folks and we, have them, really think outside the box. There are times where projects are probably busy and up against a deadline where people are really trying to meet some aggressive deadlines. But it's definitely, a creative environment where we hire people to use their brains and really think about things from a complex perspective and don't necessarily have 50 layers of red tape where like, oh, I have an idea and it has to go up, 15 different levels and it probably doesn't even make it halfway up. Where you can see maybe in some institutions, it's usually like really handled locally. And a lot of our folks like that because they can solve problems quickly and really avoids, kind of that like, I don't want to bring this idea forward because I'm never going to hear about it. In a previous life, that's happened to me where it's, we have all these ideas and then all of a sudden none of them ever come back down and you're like, well, why am I going to go up there? But, I really think, and we've gone back and forth on how we would describe it. And I think, from just talking to employees, they really say, it's entrepreneurial. But there's definitely times, like I said, where we're project driven. So there might be, some tight deadlines and it's kind of all hands on deck until those are done. But, it's definitely, an environment that our employees thrive in from, a creative perspective.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Well, Steve, I want to say thank you very much, on behalf of everybody here and CAVS and all the folks that'll watch this going forward. And we'll definitely, I'll share this presentation and I'll be happy to pass along your information to anybody else who wants it. And then would love to, continue to stay in touch with you and perhaps do some other stuff going forward.
That would be awesome. I want to thank all you guys for coming here. I know, you all took the time out of your day to learn a little bit more about what we do here. And I really appreciate that as well. And like I said, Andy, look forward to hopefully working with you and partnering with you different ways. And then Mark, if you want to shoot me a note here, I'd love to chat with you and talk with you, a little bit more about how I can help you. And then anybody else, any questions you have, it doesn't have to be Ameresco related. If it's any way I can help, I'd be more than happy to.
Great.
Thanks a lot for your time, Steve.
Hey, I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you. I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
What do you guys think?